Well, today we got to work around a few things. The kids only have a half a day, so it means it's going to be a short day. Karen has a lot of errands to do. We have errands every day. And we try to make a plan in the morning. Well, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. But I know the big thing is today I want to start grinding away on that wheel because we do have some bad weather coming. In the next 2 or 3 days it's supposed to even snow, possibility of snow. So the idea would be to get as much grinding on the wheel as possible, and think about this. This is how leapfrogging always works to your advantage. Get some grinding on the wheel, and maybe in the next day or two, or the next session, get some primer on it. The primer can be drying, we can buff out the forks. See, there's always something drying, always something that you can work on. That's how leapfrogging has helped me do what I do. Whether you think that's important or cute, or you just think I'm a cranky old man. And maybe you're right, I am a cranky old man. Cranky, but at least I know how to paint wheels. Here's living proof. Look at these beauties. I wish I was in a melon business. I could be selling melons. Anyway, I have a passion for the motorcycles that I've restored, of the two things. And I always say this, I know I'm boring you. The paint job, number one, and a set of really unusually polished, clean, much nicer than the flat black that usually comes from the factory with a flat. Now they make everything flat. I mean, they make driveway paint for motorcycles. But this is what I like. Shiny. I know I'm prejudiced. I'm old school. I'm old. But I do like shiny stuff. And when I do the wheels for our project bike, I hope they're going to be as good as I can possibly do them. And that they will be one of the focal things, one of the things you notice right away. Notice the paint and notice the wheels. Those are the two big ones. And if you've seen the videos of restoring, I know a lot of people have watched 230 some videos of restoring this bike. Well, yeah, it gets time consuming and it's long, but there's a lot of good information there. A lot of good tips. The video we have doing the Suzuki wheels, I know, talk about a labor of love, all those intricate spokes, but when it's done, I really think it adds a lot to the bike. And one of our future projects, we have a spare set of RD wheels to make a set of gold wheels. That's coming up on our, hopefully on our bucket list for the future. And the best set of wheels, I think they may even be nicer than the FCR wheels, and they have changed the look of the bike. From having that black to having it silver, I think it changed the whole look of the motorcycle. Then we have two sets of wheels for our 750. I've painted them both. They're both different. And when I change out the wheels and put the black wheels with the green stripe on, again, I almost feel like I bought a new motorcycle. And doing wheels, well, it's labor intensive, but when you're done, boy, I think there's just something special about having a custom set of wheels. So it's time for getting our coffee together, feeding the birds, and seeing how Karen wants to play this day out. It's going to be a short day. Now we caught one small break. The last couple days it's been up over freezing enough that we don't have to deal with the ice on the pond. That gives us an extra 10-15 minutes every morning to drink coffee. Now I'll make up a cup of coffee and dream about the summer that's coming. Take that coffee down by my computer and pretend it's a summer day and we're getting ready to go out on a ride. I see the birds are out there waiting for me to feed them. Oh boy. Don't worry, boys, I need my coffee first. There's no doubt about it, that coffee tastes so much better. It's indescribable how good that coffee tastes when you're watching a windy video. So instead of putting extra sugar in, I'm getting in the habit of every morning having an extra cup of coffee watching springtime, summertime videos. It floats my boat. All right, we had our coffee, so now the challenging part of the day. Let's start over at the forks. It's always going to be a good idea to let them dry an extra day or so. And with bad weather coming, it looks like we're definitely going to have a day to buff them out. So now looking at our other projects, we got the hardware done. We got the hardware all polished over here. That was a really good thing to have done. The sprockets ready to put back on. We got parts that are all ready to put. Actually, we only have a few more parts to paint. The tank, the wheel, and we're going to try to make the match twin to that, of course. But planning out a short day, always a little more challenging than you think it is. It's just a little more challenging. Now, I did just a basic cleanup on this yesterday. Steam cleaned it, got most of the goop off it, so it should be easy to change the tire today. Just have a paper towel in there to try to avoid getting steam into the bearing. Anyway, this is ready now. I think we're ready to let the air out of the tires, take the valve out, and break the bead, and pull that rim out and start grinding away at it. Now the goal is on all of these, there's some writing, there's things around the hub that I want to grind out, but this is the most labor intensive part. Doing the rim is relatively quick, but doing all those little spokes and all those little radiuses and edges, it just takes time. And a day like today, I certainly will not get it done in one day, and I know that. So I can just relax and enjoy doing it. And of course, we're going to have to change some tires very soon. With the tires are there to remind me before spring comes, we've got tire changing to do. But it really is nice to start off a day where we can look at the previous couple days and see parts that were all, well, everything here is ready to put back on a motorcycle. And it's a labor of love, but boy, at the end of the day or the next morning, it really is rewarding. I'm just looking around, and this wheel has basically the same thing. The only difference is this wheel, you're not really going to see it because the discs obscure it. So it's a little bit, well, there's still two sides that I will still get it off. And also there's another thing on the other side, the hub has some writing. I want to grind that off. Even though you don't see it, I want to grind it off. So if you look at this side of the hub, you can see all this writing. I know you're not going to see it, but I just can't see doing all this work and then knowing that that's in there. Anyway, it's as far as I know, and I don't know this for sure, it's a symmetrical wheel that you can put on a motorcycle either way. The spacers are the same both sides, and so I want to make a note of the way it was on the motorcycle because I have the rotation this way. I want to make a little scratch somewhere up here so I know that's the side when I put it back together that the tire valve is on. Now the way I like to do this, let me just show this, not sure it would help. Anything that relates to changing tires, tire weights, tire grease, tire valves, special tool to take the curvy girls out, special bolt to go in when, all of that's in one thing. And I should have a valve removal tool. Lucky me, I do. I haven't lost it yet. But this is one of the things that having it organized like this is really nice. It's just a nice little, when I have to do this, it makes doing it a little more pleasant than if I didn't have it. Now another thing, anytime you change a tire, tips that I've learned, information, well, the biggest, let's just let the air out here. The biggest single thing, if we did have a sunny day, a 80, 90 degree day or whatever, is put the tire out in the sun and then flip it over so it warms up. In the worst of all worlds, what I've done is put it on the dashboard of my car where the windshield sun was coming in. But right now the tire is 65 degrees. I know the shop because I have a thermometer in here. It's 65 degrees. So that's okay, but if it were warmer or if we were in a case where we were really worried about scratching a rim, I would be taking and warming this tire up with my electric heater because then the tire just comes right off. But in the case of we're going to paint this rim anyway, and I have those big blue Motion Pro things, seem to work pretty well. Now this is the bead breaker that I have from Harbor Freight. It was about 25 bucks if I remember right. There's a couple of things I've done to make it a little bit better. And when I say better, better means it doesn't scratch the rim. I put soft layers of duct tape. This is Gorilla Tape, and you can see how much pressure gets put on this from time to time, especially when you have brake rotors squeezing and everything. So that would have been a big scratch on a wheel. This I added because this piece, if it isn't padded in some way, it's going to definitely scratch the wheel. And of course up here. Now I also, Chuck gave me a fork leg from a dirt bike to make it a little more leverage. I just have this under here so it doesn't fall down. Because what I'm going to do is add some pieces of duct tape here to clean this up. And I want anything that touches the rim, even if it's an ordinary rim, it's not one of my custom wheels, I don't want to scratch the wheel. I hate scratching the wheel. This whole thing is predicated on not scratching the wheel. Then when I do it, I also add not only this, I'll put a towel here so that there's no hard spot. I have no metal touching that if it slips a little bit, all of a sudden I have a chunk missing out of the wheel. I know that to me that's very important. Some people don't care at all. First thing you can do is this just makes that when it starts sliding, some of this liquid is going to go down in there and just make it easier, a little bit easier anyway. Any kind of soapy water, Windex. Now I saw a really good tool that I'm probably going to add to my tools very soon. It's a bead breaker that Motion Pro makes that you don't need this big tool, and it goes in, and the only concern I had, I watched him demonstrate, it's a Motion Pro bead breaker. The reason I didn't buy one right away, I said, well, I bet that's going to scratch, put a little bit of a dent in the rim or a scratch. And see, my method is very old school, and it's all about not scratching the rims because all of these rims I put my heart and soul in. So I really go out of my way not to. This is where it's nice having this pipe from Chuck. Now as that breaks, you see what happens. It's pretty simple. The soapy water goes right inside, and it just makes it easier. And it's about as simple as can be. That just couldn't be any easier. Now in the old days I used to try to stand on the tire and do all this stuff, but if you can get the tire warm, it's just a ton easier. Now, of course, we got the dog bone on one side. I want to get my knees down on this side just to help the dog bone. I'd like to have as many of these as possible, just to make it easier. And the longer the tire irons are, the better, the easier it is, especially for me. Let's see if it's our lucky day. And it looks like we are very close to having some success. The neat thing about doing tires is every one you do, you get a little bit better than the time before. Come on, baby. Come on, you can do it. There you go. I like when I watched a couple people do them on TV that they had put the tire out in the sun in probably in California or something where it's really nice and warm, and it looked like the tire was, you could take it off barehanded. It was, well, 65 degrees is good. It's absolutely not terrible. So, but I know a lot of people struggle with, or they get, I don't know the right word. They do not look forward to doing this. That's the right way to put it. But these things really do work pretty good. They're by Motion Pro. Oh, I wish I was younger. I wish I still had it. So before I go any further, I'll once again simple green down the wheel with a clean rag that is not contaminated with anything. The reason is I'm on an ongoing quest to get this clean. Now, because some of these tires, and I don't remember which ones, I use that that jelly, that instead of soap, that jelly is still slippery. So I don't want that to get, in fact, they may stop using that stuff just for that reason. If you're going to paint a wheel, you got to make sure you get all of that stuff off. And in this case, I know it's good if you have a tire machine, but I think the soap is actually the Dawn or whatever, even simple green, it doesn't matter. It's just a better, when you're going to do some paint work later on, you don't have to worry about getting it off. There's always some trick to everything. That's unbelievable. But anyway, I'll get this as clean as I can. The next step will be to take the tire valve out. And you just never can get things too clean. It's just impossible. So I'm hoping to hear how our friend Thomas Luciano is making out with his wheel. He had a wheel that looked like it needed to be sandblasted or bead blasted or something. But and again, Thomas, thank you for making those decals, which we'll be using soon. But when it comes to wheels, wheels are a tricky thing, but I think they fit into that category of, yeah, they're a pain in the neck, and yeah, they're a labor of love, but when you're done, boy, does it set the bike apart. These Curvy Girl valve stems, I always have to grind one of the wrenches on. I had one. I don't remember what I did with it. I could have loaned it out. That's possible. But this is an important thing because I don't want these to be overly tight. They strip easily. They're delicate. And I don't want them to get loose. So it's a I don't know how to describe it. There's probably some setting of minimum setting, maximum setting or something. And a good thing is never use Loctite on these bolts. Never. Good luck with the Curvy Girls for so long, and they've really been great about just making it very easy to change the tire, whether it's a track day, check the tire pressure, a track day where you do it several times maybe during the day, or in my case, every time you ride the bike. So what I have is a bolt that I've wrapped basically masking tape around so that it would be a tight press fit, and I want that to be a tight press fit. The head of the bolt is almost exactly what the Curvy Girl is. See, it's a tight fit, it doesn't even fall out. I need to have something to keep that from going down in there. And this is the little gizmo that I have for when you have Curvy Girls or any kind of, well, when you paint a lot of wheels, you learn, you figure out these shortcuts, and they are definitely handy to have. Get a wrench and just make this snug. Doesn't have to be super tight. What I don't want to have is paint getting down in the hole where the valve stem goes. The next step is our prep wall. I'm sure, even though we've steam cleaned the wheel and cleaned it many times, I want to go back over it now because we've recontaminated it with grease and what was on our gloves and everything. And the more of this I can get off, I'll keep doing this until the paper towels come out absolutely clean. And this, I know that everything I do in terms of this, if I spend 10 minutes doing this, I get an hour of free insurance that I'm not going to have a problem somewhere down the road. And on a project like this, I don't want to even run a slight chance, even a tiny chance. I like to have it that I know it's going to be as good as I can make it. And getting everything super clean before you ever go near it with sandpaper is absolutely the best trick. And Bob Brookins taught me that many years ago. And he's a world-class custom painter. He knows his stuff. And when he told me that, I said, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Never touch anything with sandpaper that's got grease on it, or you're just driving that grease right down in. And once I get done with the prep wall, it'll be time to backmask this. Now, it's always the hardest thing to convince people that even a final cleanup, even at the very end, you still, as long as you're seeing stuff come off the wheel, you should keep cleaning it, keep doing something to it, because that stuff will wind up under the paint. So basically now we have the wheel as, I think, as clean as it possibly can be. We've used a lot of paper towels, a lot of simple green, a lot of prep wool, and a lot of elbow grease. I think we're ready to start the backmasking. Backmasking, of course, the idea is these are sealed bearings, and it's not really a deal breaker that if some paint dust were to get in there, but I just think it's nicer to work in a more methodical way. And I like to be very careful about, most important, where the brake discs are going to sit. I don't want to have paint in there and acting like bologna in a bologna sandwich or whatever. And once I get this backmast, I'll be ready to start grinding away. And this wheel will be a little bit different than the other one. I have a couple of different things I want to try, but certainly it should go a little more conveniently or faster or both, because I've already done one of these wheels. And to be honest, there's a couple of things that I was not happy with the first wheel that I think I can do a little better on this wheel. We're going to find out. And because the back wheel you see a lot more of, on the front wheel, this area in here is kind of obscured. And what I did, the green wheels that are on the 750, I didn't realize how much of them was obscured by the actual discs and everything. But it doesn't matter, because it's just better than it has to be, which is always a good scenario, rather than it's not as good as it should be. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're going to get this all back masked up, and I think we're certainly going to have some time to do some grinding maybe, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this. But all the lessons learned from the first wheel, there's some little dots on the back of this. I remember that the Dremel tool was handy, and I've got to get this lettering off. I know you don't even see it, but I don't want to have something written in here that it's up, you know. The reason is I'm just fussy. The things I have to do is I've got to get the edge here. It's easier to do this with thin fine line tape, and then I've got to set up some tin foil. See, I want to have the paint come around the edge. I don't want to have it end up here, and I don't want to have it go down into the bead where the tire actually seals. And this is not a critical joint, but I don't want to have it any sloppier than it has to be. Just one of the little details. And by the way, if this is the first time you've ever seen one of my windy videos, we try to include things, and some of them get redundant. Like, for instance, when we painted the first wheel, we did a lot of this stuff over and over again in the second wheel. But on the other hand, if you're new, you don't have to go back through the video library of 1,700 plus videos and find the one where you're looking for some information that might help you. I basically watch YouTube video every night, and I always stumble upon something that I didn't know the day before. And when I do find something really significant, I really try to pass it on. And in the course of this restoration, we've found several little things that I think, maybe there's a lot of them, I don't even realize. But in the end, it just allows a person, the objective is, it allows a person that's not a real professional, that has a NASCAR garage and Jay Leno for a father, to do some of this work. Now, I always like to thank the late Walt Prey for custom car supreme artist, and thank him for many of the things, including this using tinfoil, which I don't know, maybe over the years, that was many years ago, maybe over the years this has become the normal in custom car work. I don't know. Doesn't matter. He was very generous with sharing the information, and I try to follow on in his tradition of doing quality work and sharing the information. Now, this for us is going to be the center masking, and this works pretty well on the rear wheel. I think this is just one of the things you could pick up off the video. Maybe you can pick a lot of stuff up and I don't even know it. Backmasking always seems like something that people try to avoid at all costs, but I'm not sure why. What are you making today, honey? Empanadas. Oh my God. And what's in this?
In one of them there's taco meat.
Taco meat and cheese. Oh yeah, the house is going to smell like taco
And in
meat
the other
today.
two, I took leftover Chinese stir fry and
Wow.
cut them into empanadas.
Oh my God, do they look good. Ooh, we won't even smell the paint today, or polish or whatever we're going to do. Wow, that looks good. All right, life on a Ponderosa is good. Oh my God, they came out great. Wow, this is more fun than restoring motorcycles. I don't know why I didn't become a cook. Okay, the back masking is done. Now we can take it out of the stand and start grinding. I don't know how much time we have left, but whatever it is, we're going to use it up. Now we know from the wheel we've done, a lot of it can be done with machine, but the giant part of it has to be done by hand. Now let me just show some of the things that I want to make my modifications on. I want to grind out those letters, numbers, whatever they are. I want to get rid of these little high spots. And I don't know what they are, probably part of the injection molding process. I was never able to find on YouTube a video that showed how they made this type of wheel. They have car wheel videos, but they're much different. So we know we have limited time today. I'm going to try to work on one side of the wheel and get... I always like to work on the spokes first because they are the most labor intensive. And then doing this part here, almost all of it has to be done by hand. But once the middle is done, and I can use the various tools that I have at my disposal, but I'm hoping this is just going to be another labor of love, that at the end of it, we have another gold wheel. Now this seems like it does a good job of some parts of the spoke. And this part right here. Now, you can see one spoke is, and I still have to do the other one, because actually they're not parallel. This one is lower, so I have to be real careful when I do this. And I'm trying not to compromise it. I have to basically do each spoke separately. And this is the part we can get. Sometimes you can't get the tool in there because the tool is too big. And what it means is that last little bit has to be done by hand. And this, I'm going to need the Dremel tool to get in there and do that. But it's always to my advantage to see how much I can do with the power tools. But I know in the end, most of it's got to be done by hand. So little by little, we've gotten the spokes and the part of the hub that you might really see, I'm not sure you will, with the discs on there. We got that part of it. We're ready to move on to the next tool, the Dremel tool. Now we've got our carbide cutters, and we've got a bunch of ordinary Dremel tools. And one of the ones that's worked well with a little stones, but you definitely need a few of them, because they do wear out relatively quickly, but they get the job done. And what I found is a really useful tool doing the rear wheel, just a piece of this 180 Norton. This is the real heavy duty stuff, very stiff. And so what it allows me to do is just get in there, because there's no way you're going to get the final bit that I know of. The final part of the whole thing is always what you have to do by hand. And the Norton is really good at doing this. Now what I do, and I showed this before, let me just do it. Once I get to where it's worn out the tip, cut that little piece off, and now you've got a brand new sanding area to get in there. And this is where the hours start to disappear, because most of this, all in these little grooves and angles and edges, basically all has to be done by hand. Now it's that age-old thing of, in the end, it's mostly just hand sanding. And this powder coating, it's a little difficult to get off in some spots, and in some spots it seems to just sand right off. I'm not sure. but it's just, and a sanding stick just makes it reasonable anyway. Now I've got a little bit of time left, and I thought I'd work on these spokes. The spokes are what take the big amount of time. They take the biggest chunk of time, and there's no way that I can see that I can get a tool in here and make this any better. Well, today we managed to get 1/2, maybe a little less than half because we didn't do the rim. The rim itself goes fast. It's the spokes that take a long time. So knowing that I have the other side to do tomorrow, but that's not the easy part. The easy part is if it's not a paintable day tomorrow, there's no point rushing this. We'll buff out the forks too and do the second side and get everything prepped up because we are expecting some rain and some snow. So having this much done, I'll sleep better tonight. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.